digital leaders to enhance and grow every day. We have set a target of completing 200 book summaries in the year. As we have set the target, let us see one book summary today, and the number of the book that we have today is 75. The name of the book that we have today is The Untethered Soul, written by Michael A. Singer. Let us see the 3 lessons from this book and all the powerful information that we can gather from The Untethered Soul. Without any delay, let's get started. Type in the chat box LSG to move forward. LSG. Let's get started. The target audience of this book: the 17-year-old who thinks of himself as just a sad and lonely person. And the second category of the persons is the 43-year-old jealous type of wife, and anyone who is tasted the power of an inner burst of energy before couldn't really explain. Let me reveal the synopsis of this book. What does that book is saying for us and what we need to take from here. The Untethered Soul describes how can untie yourself from your ego. Write down in the chat box, untie myself from my ego. Harness your inner energy, expand beyond yourself, and float through the river of life instead of blocking it or fighting it. So this book helps you to come out of your ego zone or improve your energy, expand beyond yourself. Let us listen from the author what he's telling. There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of mind. You are the one who hears it. I'm repeating the statement again. You are not the voice of your mind. You are the one who hears it. Books and Oprah Winfrey have a two-way, positively reinforcing relationship. If Oprah picks any book to show her audience, that book's sales are sure to go through the roof. Vice versa, you can be sure that if the book Oprah picked is a good one and that it's made a big impact on her. Type Oprah Winfrey in the chat box. The book that picked by Oprah Winfrey is a good one and its sales also will reach to roof. So when Oprah interviewed this person, the author of this book, the Michael A. Singer, in 2012, you can bet that she put a lot of thought into why he was a good person to talk to. He explains spirituality in plain terms. He is not a guru and makes what describes as the untethered soul. He is not a guru and makes the untethered soul easy to understand and attain for everyone. Type down TUS in the chat box, the untethered soul, which will be easy to understand and attain for everyone. Let us see what does the untethered soul means and what we can take it forward. His book of the same name is about to reach a state of well-being. The untethered soul means to reach a state of well-being and acceptance by letting life flow through you without ever blocking its stream of energy. So the untethered soul means reaching a state of well-being and acceptance by letting life flow through you without ever blocking its stream of energy. It took me a while to understand the ideas in this book, but once you do this, they are incredibly powerful new ways of looking at the world. I am with Oprah Winfrey on this one. Thumbs up. Just thumbs up. Let us see the top 3 lessons of this book. We will grab your notes, whether it may be digital notes or physical notes. We will see 3 lessons. Take down notes and you can share the lessons in the end of this session in the comment sections. Here are the 3 favorite lessons. There are 2 separate versions of you. Remember, there are 2 separate versions of you, and your personal self is just one of them. Your personal self is just one version of your 2 versions. The second important lesson is your inner energy is real. And the more you can let it flow through you, the better you become. Your inner energy is real. Type down in the chat box IE, inner energy. Your inner energy is real. And the more you can let it flow through you, the better your energy becomes. And the third powerful lesson is think about death often to make sure your priorities are in the right order. Yesterday, I was thinking about death of 2 people happened in my life who are my close friends, and somehow I got connections over there. And I resonated with the lesson yesterday very much. Think about death often to make sure your priorities are in the right order. Want to untether yourself from your consciousness without having to become a recluse? Here is some spiritual sense for the normal people. Let's get started. Lesson number 1. Your thoughts don't define you. They are just outputs of what your consciousness perceives. I'm repeating the statement again. Your thoughts don't define you. They are just outputs of what your consciousness perceives. We all have an inner monologue going 24/7 by 365 days. All the time, our inner voice is talking. Type down inner voice in the chat box. Our inner voice is talking, directing how we navigate the world, and it rarely ever shuts off. The first step towards an untethered soul is realizing that this happens. First step is realization, because only then you can stop, or you can pause it, or you take a step back to look at what is going on. So first step in getting into the untethered soul is realization. After all, your thoughts don't define who are you. Again, I'm repeating the same statement. Your thoughts don't define who are you. For example, let us take an example. If you often feel sad, any sad memory you have gone through, or any misery or many sad moment you have gone through, you might start to think you are just a sad person in general, when in reality, these thoughts are nothing more than the objects flowing through you. It just so happens that your inner voice keeps picking them up. So if you often feel sad, your inner voice just picking the objects flowing through you. This distinction is important. The author, Singer, calls it the difference between yourself and your personal self. This is one wonderful moment for me. There is a difference between yourself and your personal self. Let us see the difference of that. Let's bring it on. Yourself is the pure stream of consciousness. Write down in the chat box. Yourself is equal to your consciousness. Myself equal to my consciousness. That just keeps on flowing. Whereas your personal self, the second side of the coin, is the identity that you form based on how your inner voice perceives the stream of consciousness. Let me repeat. Myself is equal to my consciousness. My personal self is equal to my identity that I form. Your self is equal to consciousness, and your personal self is equal to your identity. And the thought patterns that emerge from your inner voice. So your personal self is nothing but your identity. Once you realize there is a difference, you will look at yourself in a whole different light. I hope so you got it. Your self is equal to consciousness, and your personal self is equal to identity. Wonderful. Let us move on to the second lesson. Your inner energy, though intangible, is very much real, and the more you can let it flow, the better it will become. Write down in the chat box, more the inner energy, the better myself. More the inner energy, the better I become. Wonderful. If you have ever had a surge of energy, means if you have ever have a deficit of energy, you could not really explain, or that at least didn't seem to make sense from a physical standpoint, you have witnessed the power of your mind. Let us take an example. This is the example of Nick. I'll explain about my example again. Yesterday, Nick was supposed to drive 2 hours to Frankfurt and meet up with a bunch of old and new friends. When he woke up in the morning, he did not feel too good, and he thought about canceling the trip. Once he decided to go and sat in the car with some music though, he suddenly felt like he could take on the world. Let us take our live example. I thought of doing the session at 7 a.m. today. Somehow I didn't feel too good in the waking up early morning. So I suddenly felt I should take on the world right away and just waking up on my bed. And few people call it as a chakra, some call it as a chi, some call it as a shakti, but whatever you label it, this inner energy, all we have, though it may be intangible, you can't measure it properly, is very much real, and you should never underestimate it. So never underestimate the inner energy. It is existing. It is very real. In the same way, it can empower us. It can also drag us down if we block it. Write down in the chat box, I empower my inner energy. I empower my inner energy. Let us take another example. Ever since I sent an email on Wednesday, I was anxious about the potential reply I'll get. So my mind clung on it. I kept thinking about it and could not let it go. This stressed me, and I could only let it go 2 days later when I realized nothing bad would happen. Sometimes I compose my mails on an everyday basis. I look for at least one reply out of the 70 people. And sometimes I'll get the reply from 1 or 2 people, 2-3 people. Sometimes I will not get any reply. I also keep checking on, clutching on that. My mind thinks that who replies and who I want to give back a reply. And it's important to learn to let such negative thoughts just pass through, so they won't block your inner flow of energy. That is the reason later on, when I realized this power, inner energy, I stopped keep checking my emails every now and then. Remember that your inner energy is real, and more you let it flow, you need to let it flow, to become better person of yourself. Write down, this is awesome. And write down, your inner energy is high. Wonderful. Awesome. Let us move on to the lesson number 3, which is another critical lesson that I got resonated with the yesterday's memories and yesterday's stories. Let us see the lesson number 3. Death is what gives life meaning, so reflect on it often. Death is what gives life meaning, so reflect on it often. Did you know that humans are the only beings that know in advance that they will one day die? Imagine we don't know. We had probably live our lives really carelessly. While death is one of our biggest fears, it is also what gives life meaning. Yesterday, forget about the next lesson, next point. I want to share one experience here. Yesterday, while bathing, I remember one close friend who passed away in around 2012 or 2013. Later, after when I was working, at the time of working, before my work, I remembered another close friend who passed away in recent years, 2017, around like that. So I was thinking about the same statement. So everyone will die on one day. But what is the meaning of the life that we need to lead in this particular life? We all have only one life, right? So write down in that chat box, thinking about death gives me life meaning. I keep relearning this lesson, and since I have been following Gary Vee a lot, I keep getting reminded of it. Knowing that you are going to die and that your time on this planet is finite is one of the single greatest ways to get you focused on what really matters to you in life. Remember it, I'm repeating the statement. Knowing your time on this planet is finite is one of the single way to get you focused on what really matters to you in life. Imagine you are on the deathbed, and at the time of deathbed, if you ask any question, what is the essence of my life that I spent on? Did you ever remember the work life? Did you ever remember the fights that happened in your life? No, right? It happens, means you never know when this death will come, right? But everyone will die. And you never know what happens at what time. We cannot have the guarantee that we'll live lifelong or we live 200 years or 300 years. So what is the life meaning comes only if you think about death. For example, if you are the jealous type and seeing your partner talk to someone else at a party already makes you mad. Means if you and your spouse went for a party and you see that your partner is talking to someone else in a party, which making you mad, imagine what you had wanted them to do once you are gone. Does it really matter who they talk to as long as they are happy? Whatever it is you want to do in your life, if it is worth doing before you die, chances are it is very much worth doing right now. This is another powerful statement. Write down in the chat box, the right time to do anything is right now. The right time to do anything is do it right now. Don't wait. You are only at bat. So these are the three lessons that we learn from this wonderful book, The Untethered Soul, which says that we have two versions of ourselves. One is self and the second one is personal self. The second lesson is your inner energy is real. The more you let it flow through you, the better you become. And the third powerful lesson is think about death often, sometimes, to make sure your priorities are in the right order. Let me share my mind map. Before going further, I want Sony to unmute yourself and share one powerful lesson that grabbed your attention.
I like this book, and it has put me in quite a lot of thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, but coming to the last statement, it reminded me that at one time I used to think of my death every day.
Yeah.
And I recall those days were so sorted.
Hmm.
And it was like reminding myself that how clear. And when you're sorted, your inner energy is really high.
Yeah.
And you don't uh, you don't personalize, you don't take everything very personal. As it says, right? You are not the voice of your mind.
Inner
The
voice.
very
Not the inner voice. Yeah.
not the inner voice, but
Hmm.
you hear it. You are an observer. It puts you into that state rather than getting carried away by any situation or incident. So
Hmm.
I see that these all three are so easy to link that once you think about your death very often,
Hmm.
put your things on priority.
Hmm.
I find, thanks for reminding me, it's after a long time. Before becoming a mommy, I was always reading a book, Journey Beyond Life,
Oh,
every day.
super.
So it has certain things. I would sit and do those things. It would hardly take some time, but I realized that I was so clear about my life. I think I start doing that again. Thanks for reminding me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yesterday, my contemplation was entire about this book. What will happen when I leave this world, and what impact I need to make a mark as a leader before I leave this world. These thoughts were so much occupied in my mind yesterday. That is might be the reason I didn't get proper sleep yesterday night. Let us share the mind map and we will discuss further. I didn't make a huge mind map. I made a few lessons and we will cover that whatever we have learned in this session, we will revise that. The Untethered Soul, written by Michael A. Singer, shared many lessons about this is a state of well-being. The Untethered Soul is a state of well-being. And he got interviewed with the Oprah Winfrey, and there was a conversation happen, and that conversation helped the author also to unveil the more and more information. The top three lessons that we can take from this book is there are two separate versions of you. Your personal self is just one of them. Your inner energy is real, and the more you can let it flow through you, the better you become. Think about death often to make sure your priorities are in the right order. These are the few learnings. What is the difference between yourself versus your personal self? Yourself is equals to, that's right, your consciousness. And your personal self is equal to your identity. Remember these two statements again and again. Your self is equal to the pure stream of the consciousness. whereas personal self is equal to the identity you form from that thoughts of your consciousness, which again reveal the second lesson learning. Your thoughts don't define you. This is a bulbar moment for me. Your thoughts don't define you. And the important lesson is your inner energy is real. Whatever you give it name, whatever you name it, it exists. The exists. The first step in identifying that inner energy is realization. Self-realization is one of the most important thing that is required for improving your inner energy. And the more you let it go, the better you become. That is the one powerful lesson. Why? Because all the thoughts, whether it may be happy, sad, anger, lust, greed, whatever the emotions, thoughts that we have in our inner brain, our inner self, you need to let it go. If you let it go only, then the inner energy will become a better and your inner voices will be suppressed. Remember that you are not your inner voices. And the powerful lesson that we have seen is death is inevitable. Contemplate on that often. What impact would you like to make before you leave this world? Find out the answer of this question from your heart and soul. Then you will get more information from within yourself of who you want to become and how do you want to improve your state of well-being. What would impact would you like to make before you leave this world? Or else you can also write down answer for another question. How the people should recognize you once you depart? This is another powerful question which will always contemplate in my mind. How the people should recognize you once you depart this world. Yesterday I was contemplating the two stories that I have shared. Two of my friends, and I was keep thinking about the memories that we have had, and I was little bit sad and little bit motivated and little bit revisiting the memories of all the happy memories. So remember that death is inevitable, and think of one powerful lesson that even Sony told that beyond our life. What is the beyond our life? Think of that question and stay motivated all the time with the help of clarity. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow in another book summary. Until then, stay connected, keep progressing.